Previously, in part 1 and 2 of this adventure series, I left Loch Etive and made my way up the Sound of Mull, eventually landing in the Treshnish Isles to see the Puffins. I camped overnight in Gormatra in a tick-infested meadow, then headed for Fingal's Cave in the island of Staffa the following morning. I then explored the southern coasts of Gormatra and Ulva, before heading along the wilderness coast to see the 50-million-year-old fossil tree. I then landed in the Ross of Mull, intending to camp overnight in a lovely sandy cove, but the freshening wind and the exposed coast made me change my mind. So to continue in part 3, which is the final episode, I jumped into the boat and continued on my way along the northern coast of the Ross of Mull. My plan was to head down the Sound of Iona and camp overnight in Balfour's Bay, which was not too far away, on the southern coast of the Ross of Mull, which would be more sheltered from the freshening northern wind arriving that evening. I was delighted to find I had the bay to myself, and a little later the tent was pitched in my usual spot. I was too lazy to carry everything to the tent, so set up my cooking area on the shore. Someone had left a few logs, and as the north wind was quite cold, I had a nice fire going. It was now time to chill out with a brewdog or 4, with my supper, and once totally relaxed, I let the drone out for a look around. A yacht anchored in the bay for the night, but the occupants didn't come ashore. So apart from that, I had this perfect paradise all to myself. And yes, I used all the logs. It was a lovely warm fire. I slept like a log that night, with not a tick in sight. Then, in the morning, I decided to circumnavigate the island of Iona, before heading east along the south coast of Mull, my intention then being to camp the night in Loch Bui. At first I went for a nosy in Tinker's Hole, and it's the first time I've ever passed through and not seen a yacht moored there. I then made my way through the many rocks and reef to get to the Sound of Iona, and while crossing the Sound I could feel the wind starting to freshen. Then I was weaving my way through the rock garden in the southern end of Iona. It's one of my favourite spots in this part of the world. Once clear of the rock garden, I was now in the full exposure of the freshening wind. Waves grow very quickly. I managed to get a camera lens soaked, so I had to stop filming until I reached more sheltered waters again. Sea conditions can change very quickly in the west coast of Mull. The next landmass out to sea is America. I landed in the sheltered side of Elian and Raid. and as I was rather damp myself and I needed to dry off the camera equipment, which took a soaking. As I dried off under the morning sun and fresh wind, I took the opportunity to give the drone some exercise. I honestly can't think of a nicer area full of sandy beaches, pink granite cliffs, and luminous green seas than the Ross of Mull. I jumped back into the boat and headed down the Sound, passing Iona Abbey, the island ferry, and a moor cruise ship full of tourists. And having completed my circumnavigation of Iona, I was once again passing the entrance to Balfour's Bay when I decided to stop in the best green lagoon in the area, the channel that separates the island of the Raid from the Ross of Mull, and let the drone have a look around and show how beautiful it is. It could easily be mistaken for somewhere in the Caribbean when the sun shines. I was in no hurry to get to my next campsite, so stopped off at every little nook and sandy cranny I passed. I was quite sorry passing Rue or the Lanish. It marks the end of the pink granite coastline and the start of the grey rocky headlands, as I'd that much fun exploring some places I'd never stopped on before. I did notice those unusual hexagonal basalt columns start again, some forming strange patterns. Then the headland rose in both steepness and height, reaching the highest point at Malcolm's Point, just east of Carsig Bay. It's every bit as spectacular as the wilderness coastline, only not as long. Nor are there as many waterfalls, but this one is my favourite in Mull's coastline by a long shot. Then right in the tip of Malcolm's Point are the Carsig's Arches, nature's carefully crafted stone masterpieces. Not much further along is the entrance to Loch Bowie, but I decided to stop for the day and set up camp for another relaxing evening slurping brewdogs. And like the previous evening, I slept like a log. It was my last night under canvas in this adventure. The dawn chorus woke me early and I was keen to get home, so packed everything away in double quick time. And I didn't pay much attention to the fog that was collecting over the loch, thinking it would soon burn off in the sun. To my surprise, the fog kept on coming. I thought it would only be over the loch, and clear at sea, so took a compass bearing for loch entrance and went on my merry way. I could just make out the headland, at times. Once clear of the loch, I headed east along Mull's coastline. I navigated by compass and depth of water in the fish finder. Then I had to make a decision to cross the Firth of Lorne on a due east compass bearing, which should get me to Kerala. And as I fully thought the fog would clear once away from the land, I headed off. The fog didn't clear, and in fact got even thicker. I couldn't see where fog met sea. I was concerned of meeting other boats out at sea, but fortunately I only came across a flotilla of yachts in mid-channel. I guess we were crossing in the security of numbers. I was surprised when it first loomed out the mist only yards in front of me, but it was slow moving and easily avoided. You can imagine how relieved I was when I finally saw the coast of Kerala as I made my way up the Sound, and was delighted it now stayed clear for the rest of my way home, and that a great adventure was over. Thanks for watching.